Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today's Aquirian Limited webinar. My name is Nicola Gazzatti from Investor Relations Consultancy Corporate Storytime. Aquirian has been listed on the ASX for just over 12 months and is an emerging specialist mining services company that is transforming the drill and blast industry with innovative products and services for the domestic and global clients. I'm delighted to be joined today by Managing Director David Kelly, who will be providing an up-to-date investor presentation highlighting the unique value proposition that Aquirian offers to its clients. So without any further ado, I'm pleased to hand over to David to deliver an update on the Aquirian story.
Okay, thank you again, Nicole, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar. We'll just take you through briefly the Aquirian story and where we are at as of today. So the usual disclaimer, and I thought I'd start with our vision. So Aquirian, we've been around as a group for about 5 years and obviously listed on the ASX last year. So our vision is to be an innovative and sustainable Australian company, providing future-focused solutions and services to mining customers globally. And I guess both our vision and our values lock on to a couple of key themes. One is that connection to industry and being really integrated with our customers and delivering practical solutions that they require. And in doing so, and doing that in a way that's entrepreneurial, nimble and flexible, but also having fun as a team while we do it. And we've got a great team of people in here supporting our business as we move forward. And what is our value proposition? So we have a tier one client base underpinning our sustainable and profitable business. And that's across both your tier one miners, contractors and government and defence. All of our business units are complementary and cross-pollinate sustained growth. We have a clear and focused strategy around developing innovative products and delivery of those to the market. And we're led by an experienced management and board. And I guess most importantly, we're a profitable company. We have been since the day we commenced, and we're also growing, continuing to grow. And our innovation pipeline is sustainable and it's got strong industry support. In terms of board and management, we're led by our chair, Bruce McFadden. Bruce has been around the industry for over 40 years, is a mining engineer by trade, and has a keen eye and a keen focus on drill and blast and understands the impact it has throughout the value chain of a mine. Myself and Greg Patching, both Greg was the original founder and I joined him very shortly after. Our background is over 20 years in the drill and blast space, predominantly on the explosive side, with companies like Orica and Hanwha Mining Services. And then we round out the board with Alex Atkins. Alex has been, again, in industry for a long time, has worked underground, has worked on surface, worked across Australia and Papua New Guinea, and is also on the board of Parenti, so brings that also, I guess, a large service company viewpoint to the board. And we just pre-IPO, we were joined by Mark Hunter as our CFO, and Mark comes from an extensive career with Alcoa across numerous roles, but I guess keenly ending as the CFO for Global Alumina and the Australian business. In terms of how we're structured, we run our business across two divisions, our people service division and our mining service division. Revenue contributions you can see there at the end of last year. And they've remained consistent as we're growing mining services. We're also growing the people service division. The benefit of having this model is that we find our people service division are the way we can quite often get into customers, whether that's through training or labour hire. And once we're in the door, then we start wrapping around our other services with those clients. In terms of our growth over the last 5.5 years, it's been a combination of organic growth and acquisition. Starting, I guess, in our full financial year of FY18, where we had TBS Mining Solutions. We developed the original Collar Keeper product. We then went on to found TBS Workforce, followed by a series of acquisitions of Modular Training, Maglock and Cybum. Cybum being the most recent. But once we acquire a company, it's about bringing it into our network and really growing that business. So the modular business has seen growth of around 500% over the last 3 years, sorry. And the Maglock business is probably around 40% up in the 2 years we've had it. And our most recent acquisition, and also the largest we've done, Cybum, we're still in the process of integrating that into our business, but the signs so far are really pleasing. And then really exciting development, which we announced to the market in the last couple of weeks, was the investment by First Quantum Minerals of up to 1.1 million into our Collar Keeper system. First Quantum Minerals have been our longest customer. They started with us back in 2017, and we've built a relationship around trust, delivery, and consistency with them that sees them now investing into our product journey. In terms of our broad network of, I guess, customer-facing brands, that allows us to work with a broad range of customers. So we do work with all the leading mining houses and contractors across Australia, and some around the world, particularly with our products, which we sell into about 12 countries. Across this customer base, a significant number of them now work with up to 2 and 3 of our brands on any given day, which really demonstrates, I guess, the new unique features of our business model. In terms of the financial year just finished at the end of June, so we saw a revenue increase of around 38% and EBITDA growth of 58%. And I guess just looking at those two metrics, we're really pleased with that. I guess the difference between them, where we really focus on profitable growth over just revenue growth. From a cash and underlying operating cash flow, we had cash conversion of over 100%, and at the end of the year, we were in a net cash position. Looking forward to this year, we put guidance out at the start of the year of revenue of 26 to 28 million, and we still are still supporting that number and believe we will well and truly achieve that. In terms of sort of a corporate overview, our share price as of the close of business on Friday was 36 cents. We have 80 million shares on issue. I guess they're the shares we listed with, and importantly for investors, there was no cheap money into this stock. Everyone who came in at the IPO came in at 20 cents. The original founders were the only people who had shares that you would argue are below 20 cents. And our market capitalisation is around that 28.8 million. Just stepping into some of our products, and particularly, I guess, where we see a large amount of our future earnings coming from. And it's Collar Keeper and Collar Keeper system product range. So the Collar Keeper itself is a solution for stabilising blast hole cuttings and the preconditioned zone immediately after you drill a hole. We commercialised this product in 2018, and we've generated just shy of $10 million revenue since its inception. And it's got IP applications globally, with about 8 countries now having granted patents, and about another 30 countries approximately patent pending. And this product is great, and it does exactly what it says on the box around stopping fallback and redrill in blast holes. And we describe it as a removable stent to keep a blast hole open once you've drilled it. These blast holes can cost anywhere from $50 if they're small holes, up to $500 in some of the larger mines globally. And most of these mines are drilling in excess of, particularly in the large mines, over 100,000 holes a year. The smaller holes in mines might be $300,000 or $400,000 a year. So when you have fallback and you've lost depth in those holes, or you've had a collapse at the collar and you need to re-drill the hole, both of them come at a cost. And give an example, we had one client with a re-drill rate of around 15%. Prior to the collar keeper product coming in. They were drilling 100,000 holes a year approximately at $500 a hole cost. And within 6 weeks of the collar keeper being put into their site, that re-drill rate had dropped to below 1% and still that rate today a number of years later. So has a significant impact on cost operationally. But we always knew that the collar keeper is great. It goes in after the blast hole has been drilled. We always knew that we needed to protect the blast holes from the moment we started drilling. And this is particularly the case in wet and difficult ground condition. So we invented the collar keeper system. And the collar keeper system overcomes a lot of traditional methods for wet and difficult ground. And importantly, it's an engineering control to protect blast hole quality. Most of the controls that mines use today are what we'd call an administrative control, whereas the collar keeper system puts a physical barrier in the way of anything happening to that hole from the moment you engage the drill bit right through to loading that hole with explosives, which is the ultimate aim of the hole, is to get explosives in the ground and get your energy into the ground. We've seen significant improvements in productivity utilising the collar keeper system. At one of the mines we did some of our initial work at, we've seen a yield improvement per shift from about 20 holes per shift up to consistently 30 holes per shift on that site. And I guess from our customer perspective, particularly the more sophisticated customers, as they start to look at the system and we're starting to get adoption, it's around that consistent outcome, regardless of whether it's a driller who's got 3 months experience or a driller that's got 25 years experience. Utilising our system, your chances of having a consistent quality blast hole increase significantly. So that's really what we're seeing is there's the cost, there's the CO2 benefit through yield, but also we're seeing, that improved blast quality and consistent results that's driving customers in this direction. In terms of our pathway, we've had, as we've just announced, the FQM investment into the collar keeper system. We're in the process of developing the mechanisation for the small track rigs. So prototypes are being tested currently. We're looking for commercialisation towards the back end of Q3, so March, April next year. Once we've got the mechanisation done, which is actually the hard part of the system, tying that into the automation on these existing rigs is reasonably easy in comparison. With the announcement from FQM, that's bringing forward the commencement of the project for the large rigs by over 12 months. So significant acceleration in that. When we look at the available track rigs, there's about 200 rigs in WA, 200 to 300. Conservatively 200 we're saying, and conservatively about 3,000 of those rigs globally. And the available market in WA is around 100 of rigs for the large platform rigs, and about 1,000 rigs globally. So once we get the big rigs, that is underway now. So we're hoping to be in a position where we'll be testing on those rigs within about 12 months. So those rigs are a little bit more complicated just due to the nature of the platforms that are around them and the size of them. But we're reasonably confident, very confident that we'll have be testing on that within 12 months. We do all of our engineering internally. We've got a full engineering team here in Perth. And another key project we're working on is a robot for loading blast holes. So this robot is in development, in build at the moment. We've partnered with a company called Jevons Robotics, and we're working with a tier 1 Pilbara miner. At this stage, the robot will be on bench in the Pilbara in late Q3, FY Q3, so around March is the target date. And it's aimed to load explosives and stemming in difficult environments. In these environments currently, you have humans carrying buckets up these hills of explosives because the traditional explosives loading equipment cannot access the areas. So our robots will be semi-autonomous, so remote control initially, working through to full autonomy over the trial period and into next year. So initially it's a 3-month trial, but our expectation is on given the success that we expect to achieve, that'll be continuing on going forward. And then as we look towards the future, it's in terms of our strategy, I guess if I started people services, we see people services as the gateway, as I mentioned earlier, to our client. And so it's really about those businesses growing organically with our clients and also into adjacent geographies and markets. We're focused on developing training to support a future-facing workforce. And an example of that is we're looking at a women in blasting program to try accelerate female participation in the drill and blast industry, in particular the shot firing side, which tends to be reasonably male-dominated currently. And so that business is about organic growth and supporting our clients. In terms of our capital investment, it's really into mining services, and that's to continue to develop and commercialise our products, both our existing IP, the Collar Keeper and Collar Keeper systems, but new technologies such as the robots and other products we're looking at. We've got our Maglock business in Adelaide, which we're looking at manufacturing capacity and capability, which we've recently both increased our capacity and capability through tooling. And now we're looking to expand that product range and really grow the defence offerings for that business. So about 40% of the revenue for that business comes from defence, and we see a strong future in that area. We're looking to leverage our growing fleet and our maintenance capability, which we've brought in through Cyber, which will allow us to offer fully maintained service offerings to our customers rather than just a dry hired fleet or a maintenance. We can put those two together and look to increase our margins across that. And we're also constantly looking at selective and accretive M&A for the group that makes sense, that's accretive for our shareholders and our business. And as we look forward to that, that'll sit more in our technology and innovation space than in the underlying business as we look forward. So beautiful. I'll stop sharing there and I'll throw back over to Nicole for any of the questions.
Thanks for that update, Dave. We'll now move on to the Q&A session, and we have had a couple of questions come through. So, David, the first question is, what is your reason for starting another mining services company?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess when we started this business, it was always focused on delivering on customer needs and practical problem solving. We see a lot of technology, and sometimes I don't like the word technology because it's got some connotations. We think of ourselves more of an innovation type company, but it's really coming from a practical perspective. A lot of technologies focused on big data and all of this sort of stuff, and it's not solving actual problems that are happening in mines today. So that was our initial focus, and I guess as we've grown and we're developing that, we've been dragged into certain areas by customers where they've got issues, and we've been able to help solve those problems. And by having, I guess, the broad business space allows us to generate cash to allow us to invest in that innovation as well. So mining services companies, are we a mining service company or are we an innovation company? Hopefully the future will show that which way we're heading.
Fantastic, thank you. So our next question is a two-part question. Is the collar keeper system currently being used? And what are the benefits of FQM's recent investment in collar keeper?
Yes, the collar keeper system is currently in use, and we've it's been I guess it hasn't gone as quick as we would like for certain reasons, and that is there are people, or the drill and blast contractors currently get paid for a lot of the waste we're getting with, so that we're dealing with. So we're now engaging with a number of principals. And so the system's in use in Zambia. It was on use in here until the mine recently closed. And we've got inquiries now, both here, Africa, the US, and we expect in January we'll probably going on to another 6 or 8 units, January, February. So we're starting to see a bit of momentum in terms of that use as we've pivoted where we're targeting our commercial attention. And sorry, what was the second half of the part of the question?
So the second part of the question was, what are the benefits of FQM's recent investment in collar keeper?
Yeah, so FQM was, I guess, the original adopter of the collar keeper product itself, and they utilised that across their 3 large copper mines, 2 in Zambia and 1 in Panama. And they've been a huge supporter of the collar keeper system, and they're using it on one of their mines currently as they've been trialling in Zambia, and they recently announced they'll just be converting the remaining rigs on that site to the system, it's an additional 2 rigs, so that'll be 4 rigs on that site, and then looking to convert their other sites. But I guess for us, one, it helps us accelerate onto the big rigs. But 2, it's a sign of credibility. We see that, if you've got one of the largest copper mines in the world saying, yes, this product makes sense and it's delivering significant benefit to us, to the point where we want to bring that benefit forward by investing money. For us, it gives us a lot of faith I think it should give shareholders a lot of faith in what we've been saying is coming to fruition. And while it may have been a little bit slower than we like, there is absolute customer support and demand for these products.
Thanks, David. We've got another question. There is a lot of autonomous infrastructure on mine sites. Is the collar keeper system going to be autonomous?
Absolutely. So the drill rigs that we are working with, and at the moment it's particularly focused on the Epiroc brand, T45s, D65s, and with the FQM investment onto the large platform rigs, the PVs. Those rigs already have autonomous capabilities. So for us, once we get the mechanisation done, it's just about tapping into the autonomous technology on those rigs to allow our system to be automated with the rig. So absolutely, and that's 100% where we're heading towards. So, and that's why I say the automation step is actually in some ways the easiest step once we get the mechanisation working.
And David, you touched on that Aquirian is an innovation company. Are there any other innovative products in the pipeline?
Yeah, we've got a couple that we're trialling at the moment. They're ones in the cable management space. As we move to electrification, a lot of the big mining fleets will be moving to be run by electric power. And we have customers today that are already using some of these fleets in their system, and they involve large cables running across the mine bench. So we do have a product aimed at that to delineate those cables. So that's in trial with a few customers at the moment. And we've got a few other simple products that we're looking at that are dealing with immediate problems for our clients, but nothing I want to talk about just at the moment.
Okay, thanks, David. And our final question for today is, what does success look like for Aquirian in 5 years?
Yeah, great question. I think over that time, we've got a view that the collar keeper system will be not an if, but it will be just how people drill in the future. It is an enabler for automation on a lot of rigs that can't be utilised in an autonomous fashion today. So in 5 years, I think, I'd like to think that 50%, 60% of the drill rigs in the world are using the collar keeper system on them. I'd like to think that our autonomous robots that we're working on are the way people load explosives, not just in the Pilbara, but across mining in general. And we're at the front end of some of this technology. And so, I think, we will be seen as an innovation powerhouse, delivering practical solutions to industry, and hopefully delivering above market returns to our shareholders.
Thanks, David. It looks like Aquirian's got a really bright future ahead of them. So that appears to cover the majority of the questions from our audience today. And if you do have any further questions for David, please feel free to forward them to info@corporatestorytime.com. And we're going to make a recording of this webinar available via Aquirian and Corporate Storytime social media accounts in the coming days. So this concludes our webinar for today. So thanks everyone for attending, and thanks to the Aquirian team and David for the update. Thanks, David.
Thank you very much, Nicole.